Hi, this is an exhibition of 23 women artists at the Carter Burton Gallery in New York City. I'm Kate Missett. I interviewed 3 of the curators, and the following video segment is one of those interviews. Welcome, ladies. So, first question for everybody was, how did you start making art?
Well, I confess that I remember my first drawing because I was so engrossed in this coal truck that always parked next to my grandmother's house. And at 4, I drew this drawing of each bit of coal and the man and the truck. And that was my first drawing. It was so exciting. And then as I grew up, I said to Mom, where is that drawing? Thinking, well, my mother would say that she didn't remember. And about 2 years ago, I found it in a book that she had given me. So that was my first realization that art was going to be my life.
Wow, that's great. Wow.
I do not remember my very first drawing. I do remember my first painting. I know I was 10 years old at the time, and I have always done the arts in general. My parents were interested in that, so I did music, I took dance lessons, and I always, that I remember, made art. And I used to go out into the park nearby and draw every branch and every twig on the tree. And I loved doing that.
Oh, great.
Long time.
How about you, Susan?
I started late. I was always making things when I was a kid, but my parents didn't know about art or anything like that. So actually when I was a sophomore in college, I took a summer session at University of Wisconsin, and I was trying to figure out whether I was going to be a math major or an English lit major. And after 2 days of analytic geometry and calculus, I decided to be an English lit major and was looking for something else to take. And I took this, I saw you didn't need any prerequisites for sculpture. And I took the sculpture class and loved it. And I was rooming with a friend of mine who was always into art. I mean, she was going to Cooper Union and everything. She was very supportive and very complimentary of what I was doing. I spent day and night in the studio. And when I came back, I still went to the Brooklyn Museum of Art School though. I didn't decide not to major in art in college. I majored in English lit, but I went to the Brooklyn Museum of Art School and studied there. But that solidified it. I mean, then it's like I found myself.
Wow.
Can I add a little bit, just because
Yes.
I'm from Ohio and I'm sort of intimidated because these guys had, art school and they had all these other things surrounding them. My uncles were all artists, so I would watch them drawing or painting. My one uncle was a cartoonist, the other uncle actually did terrible paintings, but my cartoonist uncle had some in the New Yorker, so that was the beginning of my goal.
I had a neighbor, I lived in an apartment building, and my neighbor on the same floor, on the 4th floor, my mother would say, oh, Rose Victor is an artist. And she would take me in, and this is really early in the probably 50s, and she had her own studio. And she had taken the entire living room and turned it into a studio. And I always think back to her and how wonderful that was, and who knows what influence it had on me. I don't know.
Where do you think your belief in yourself comes from or came from?
Oh, my mother, man. She always said, you can do anything. That was because, of course, we couldn't afford to give me music lessons or art lessons or anything else. She said, no, you don't need it. You can do it on your own. And in many ways, I think she was right, because it gave me a sense of power.
That's so great. Isn't that great? You were lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah. How about you,
I
Sylvia?
think most things do start at home and with your family. My parents had 2 girls, and so we were it. And my parents told me I was special.
Oh.
And I always believed it, maybe to my detriment.
Oh. How could there be a detriment to
I
that?
don't know, because you could be a little too cocky. I mean, you could be too much. But I've always believed in myself. The 3 of us are incredibly strong women. Really.
Yeah.
I mean,
We learned that working together.
I think we knew it before.
We knew it before.
We knew it before.
We knew before.
before we worked together. So
Yes. Well,
you have to be to be here. You
Yes.
have to be. If you didn't believe in yourself, you dropped out.
Right.
long ago.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
that's just the reality, and it isn't that easy for anybody to have a self-confidence all the time. We all have times when we question ourselves, when we feel frail or not sure that we're doing the right thing. But in terms of art, I think we all know what we're doing.
how about you, Susan?
Yeah, I don't know. I have, I think, a good core. I don't know about if I don't relate to the idea, do I believe in myself? I just like go on sort of dogged perseverance. This is what I need to do, and I just, keep doing and keep trying to, get the work out. And I've been doing a lot of curating, other shows and getting other people's work out. But I don't feel it as like that believe in myself. I was like part of it is that my family was like, my father, I was expected to do well. It wasn't like, so, and I didn't get praise for it. It was like, that was the expectation. And it's like, if you're not doing well.
like a boy.
Right, well, if you're not doing well, I'd let you
I
know.
was treated
You
more
know,
like
like they would say, if you're not, if you're not doing the right thing, I'd let you know. But as long as I'm not saying anything, you're doing fine. So, I just.
that was
Do
a good
it, just
point
persevere.
that Fernita just said. I think that because there weren't boys in my family, I was treated like a boy in that I needed to succeed, and my parents were this immigrant idea. You have to succeed, and there are all kinds of surveys that seem to say that first generation Americans really do succeed better than anybody else. You have that fire that they have put into you.
Right.
And I went to all, as I said, art schools. I had all art friends. I had lots of girls who were friends who were doing art, and it didn't really occur to me that I couldn't do it.
So, do you want to say anything else
I don't
about
know.
the meaning of the
Talk
show?
about the personal that you always talk about, how women wrote about themselves.
Well, a lot of my work, I confess, was about confessing the reality of my life, the reality of my feelings. And I at one point started doing performance, confronting those things. And instead of in a way it was a safe place, because by turning it into art, it was no longer reality. I didn't have to own up to it in the same way. Is what
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we all did. I was doing art that was always outside. When I started and went around to the galleries, my work was about the ecology of the earth, which was unheard of. Totally, there was words that just didn't exist. I did a series called Eco-Illuminations. Nobody knew what that word meant. Now I'm going sort of in a way back, and I'm doing Origins of God, which comes out of a painting that I did all the way back in the early 70s with a group of women. And I'm always, somehow, my work is always on the outside, and women's work is often just
Right.
always, were never doing, and Vernita is right, the women who became well-known, the women who were doing art that looked just like the male counterparts.
Right. I think another thing is happening too. As we get older, the women, we feel the sense of ageism much more than men do. I think because men don't look at us anymore. There's just so much that just doesn't happen anymore in the same way. And I found that it didn't make sense for me to confess anything anymore. Who cares that she's an old lady? So I started dealing with ageism in my work, about getting old, in my performances, where I'd take my makeup and I'd say, it's not helping, no one's looking, whatever I said. I don't remember right now.
Are these in
Right.
videos, or do you have videos of your
Oh
performances?
yeah, I'm on YouTube, and
Is
I
that
also
gonna be on
have.
the show? The
I'm gonna do a
videos.
performance in the show,
We have a
actually.
performance.
Yes,
in the
no
show.
one said it yet.
Right.
I wish they had made a little bit more about the performance, because some people are leaving it out of their little flyers.
Well, I have,
but-
and we put it
Oh,
in
right,
everything.
right.
We have put it in everything that we have put out.
And actually, I wanted to add too, the other performance artist her name is Linda Montano. She asked me for a list of the dead women artists.
Oh, yes.
So we are going to cover as much as we can.
Wow.
And I've gotta go because my car is gonna get a ticket.
Thank you
Also
so
about
much.
doing work on ages, I did a whole series of work for about 10 years on aging women's bodies and cast paper.
Right, that's right.
And I did a collaboration with actually one of the other artists on the show, Jenny Tango, who's 96 now.
Wow.
Right,
And
that's
we
right.
did a whole series of
All
work.
of the women in this show are still alive,
Right.
but they're
what's
not
different
young.
about us.
They're
Right.
not young.
No.
Right.
Everybody.
Well, we're familiar with that here at Carter.
Yeah, but nobody else is. I mean, it is in its own way interesting that this is
You-
a show of all
Thank
living
you.
women. Nobody has done that, and we are aged people,
Yes.
and we're still working.